News, a pursuit right now underway. This is an LAPD as the lead agency. Skyfox live over the pursuit. This is the 101 in Universal City. This is actually in Studio City. It was the exit there at Universal City, exit 12A, if you want to get really specific. A stolen vehicle pursuit, and you can see, Christine, the vehicle making its way to the number 1 and number 2 lanes, trying to get by traffic as it's doing everything it can to stay away from police.
Yeah, going now through the Hollywood Hills at pretty high rate of speed there. The freeway, 8 o'clock at night here, is really wide open there in the Hollywood Hills. Of course, you're going to come upon the Hollywood Bowl. Don't know if there's any event there tonight, but probably all the cars are in place about now anyway. But this freeway being open like this allows this driver to go at this high rate of speeds. It started around 8 o'clock in the San Fernando Valley. You can see that, a little dangerous there. Boy, can you imagine being a car and you see someone flying up on you like that? It's very scary.
Very scary. So if you have anybody out on the roads right now at this hour in this particular area, please let them know. This is one of those things where you do not want to try to be a hero. We always hear that from law enforcement. If you see a pursuit coming up behind you, if you can react quick enough, you want to move over to the far right lanes. You don't always have that opportunity. This can go very wrong very quickly. When we talk about how do we bring these pursuits to an end, there are a few different methods that law enforcement can deploy at any given time, but it just depends on the traffic situation, time of day. Is it a highway? Is it a freeway? Is it a surface street? And here we are on the 101. So we potentially think of, Christine, spike strips have been used a lot on highways. But again, that's really when authorities have to get way ahead of the suspected driver and be able to plan ahead, as we're now taking the exit here at Holly Drive. It looks like Vine Street in the Hollywood Hills.
Okay, so this is a game changer here where you have this suspect getting off the freeway. If you saw when they were passing kind of by the Hollywood Bowl area, it was pretty backed up there on surface streets, kind of wide open here. It's an interesting location that we used to know well here at Fox 11. Our studio used to be in that Hollywood area. Don't know if the suspect knows this area well, wants to get back on a freeway perhaps and go back towards the San Fernando Valley there. We talk about suspects sometimes going to an area, dangerous move there to get around the traffic. Very dangerous. Back on the freeway, Marley, here we go. This suspect, again, might be going back northbound there on the 101 to go back to an area that feels more familiar. You can see that night sun right there tracking their every move.
Okay, so here is the information that we are working to confirm. Stolen vehicle, suspected stolen vehicle pursuit, suspect behind the wheel here. It's been identified as looks like they definitely sideswiped. And it looks like an SUV. According to what we're hearing, it looks like a gray SUV. It's hard to tell given even with the night sun on it, but no doubt it looked like, Christine, and you can confirm from your vantage point, that certainly sideswiped the innocent driver.
Yeah, like it.
So some damage there. We're hearing it is a male suspect behind the wheel, so we will work to confirm some of these details. But we see this now playing out on surface streets in the Hollywood Hills. And Christine, we know how tight these streets can be, and how if you're coming from the other direction, you don't expect to have a pursuit suspect coming right at you.
So interesting move by this driver here. So the driver started in the San Fernando Valley, got on the 101 freeway, went towards the Hollywood Hills, got back on the freeway after being on surface streets for a short time, and then got back off the freeway like one exit over. So not sure why they are doing this jog around freeways and surface streets. Hollywood Hills, as Marlon noted, very narrow streets, as you can see right here. Not sure if this driver has any idea where they're going. Very scary for any resident in this area. In case this driver tries to ditch that vehicle, where do you go? You might go into somebody's yard or knock on their door or try to carjack them. So very scary if you live near Holly Drive and San Marco Drive and Deep Dell Place, because that's an area where It's residential. There are no businesses there. So very scary if you live there. Lock those doors.
And I was just going to note, in the Hollywood Hills, if you're familiar with it, you know there can be dead-end streets. There can be the cul-de-sacs, and it looked like they just hit one of those dead-end streets. So this could be a bonus for law enforcement. Let's bring on to our coverage Tim Lynn. He is a law enforcement specialist. Tim, what do you make of this in the Hollywood Hills? Very dangerous, given how tight these streets are.
Exactly. It's not going to be a very high speed in these areas due to the topography here, but it's going to be very hard to contain these streets because they wind down through these hills and they go so high to where the vehicles or the police vehicles can't set up a perimeter around it very easily. And you were saying earlier that the cul-de-sacs up here and not knowing this area, he's just wandering, probably trying to figure out a way to get out. But after that crash, when he just before he went up into the hills here, he's probably just trying to find a place to get out and run because, at this point, he's not trying to get to his house. He's just trying to get out of the area, backing up here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these driving through the Hollywood Hills when you're not being pursued by police in broad daylight can be tricky. You have to go slow. It's so narrow, and there's so many little side streets and curves, and clearly it doesn't seem, to your point, Tim, that this suspect knows this area well. And we often see that, though. We see that where people want to go where they're familiar. That makes sense. But to end up in the Hollywood Hills, probably not a great place to be.
No, I really don't think he's in an area where he knows where he's going. He just happened to get up the wrong street. And it looks like the ground units may have come in now and picked up on him. It looked like he blacked out at one point. I kept watching the night sun from the helicopter turning on and turning off, and to me that was indicating they were in a surveillance mode. But at this point now, he's blacked out, and they're in full pursuit at this point. And the one thing you did say that would make a lot of sense in this, you've got to keep in mind when these people get into neighborhoods, especially in that type of area where everything is very tight and quiet, lock your doors and make sure everything is shut down, because these people will get out, get on foot, and find the first open door they can go through to try to hide from the police. And if you happen to be in that building or the house, it could cause a lot of problems. But luckily, he worked his way out of the hills and now is on the freeway at the 101 northbound here. So we'll have to see what happens down, how damaged his vehicle is after that crash.
Yeah, pro or con, I'm not sure what it is. The fact that this driver made his way out of the hills there, was able to escape. Is that a motorcycle hot on his tail? That's not good. I would back off. This driver does not have his lights on, it appears, which is very scary. I hope this motorcycle person gets an idea of what's going on here and perhaps wants to stay as far away from that vehicle as possible. You have to see those police cars if you're on that motorcycle, I'm sure. So a scary situation right there where you have to worry about an accident, other motorists, obviously no pedestrians here on the freeway, but not sure where this driver is going, but it is back towards the origin of the start of this pursuit, San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, getting back to that, to the area where it started, and sometimes that's, what we talk about, where they go to where they know the area, they're familiar with the area, but, half the time they just end up going someplace and just trying to get out. But going at this speeds with no lights, people on the freeway just trying to get home in the evening, having this person blast by them, this is just a disaster waiting to happen, because he's got a lot of speed and he's trying to work his way through traffic, and every once in a while that gap that you think you have isn't there, and they have too much speed to be able to stop. But fortunately, CHP or LAPD back on the pursuit and with the lights and sirens, so they're going to be able to alert the drivers around, also with the night sun from that helicopter. But at one point here, I wouldn't doubt for a second that the watch commander from LAPD is going to go ahead and call this off on the ground units and have it go to surveillance mode and have the helicopter just follow it. And I believe I was told the want is stolen. If it's just a straight stolen, that's probably going to be the game plan.
And for viewers who may not understand why, because a lot of these can end up with deadly consequences, or like we saw that wild pursuit play out on our air live on Sunday night with the multiple carjackings with the big rig involved, and I mean, on and on. It was just beyond wild. But for people who don't understand why authorities don't bring these things to an end faster, it's a lot easier said than done, right, Tim? And they back off and they go into what's called a follow mode, basically out of concern for public safety.
Exactly. And what you have to keep in mind that if it's a straight stolen, it's just a property crime, and you don't want to have somebody lose their life over a vehicle and somebody taking a vehicle. Now, the one the other night, Sunday, they had to stay with those folks because they were stealing other cars. They were jumping out of one, getting into another, and that's really putting the public in danger. So you try to get those people off the road as quickly. But something like this, where you just have somebody driving at a high rate of speed and just really causing more hazards than necessary, than the watch commander watching the feed from the media, and also the call from the helicopter above. They have to weigh those parameters of the pursuit to see. But if he starts picking up more speed here, he's up in the hundreds now. Yeah, blacked out. You're just asking for it. So the watch commander more than likely will stop it.
That is terrifying to see, the lights off. I'm wondering, Tim, from your perspective, how hard is it for this driver to drive with the lights off when it comes to visibility?
It's very difficult. You don't realize how dark those freeways are when you turn off your lights. I mean, they are extremely dark. But most cars nowadays have their daytime running lights, and it puts a little bit of light in front and no light to the rear. So, but they're still not strong enough to show any hazards ahead, or to be able to give you depth perception to be able to make moves like he's doing here. Running now at 82 miles an hour. You need a little light in front of you to be able to see what you're driving around, to be able to get through. And people aren't expecting you to come through at that speed, and then blacked out like that. It's going to be a problem. And I'm trying to look really close to see if those daytime running lights are on, but the night sun's kind of washing them out. So it's just, at this point, if we can look back and see if there's any units behind, but I doubt it at this point. I don't see any flashing against the back of the car right now. Normally you'll see the overhead lights flashing against the car at this point. But the driver of the police car now, their mindset is to stay in contact with the driver, but you have to maintain your safety and maintain the safety of the people around you. So the officers have to weigh that as they're chasing and make the determination on their own how fast they actually can go. And if he's going 100 miles an hour, is it really safe for them to go 100 miles an hour after him? So you have to, as an officer, keep that in mind as you're driving, because there is liability involved in these pursuits, to where if you have an accident, you're going to have to justify why you were doing the speed or the type of driving you were doing. So every officer has been trained for that and always has that in the back of their mind.
Yeah, so let's give a quick update on the location here. We were on the 101 through Studio City. Now we're on the 170 North Roscoe Boulevard exit, passing right here. Speeds, yes, above 100 miles per hour. This is a stolen vehicle pursuit. This kicked off in the San Fernando Valley. We've seen it go onto surface streets in the Hollywood Hills. We've seen it, let's bring this up if we could, sideswipe an innocent driver once it got off the 101 southbound here, trying to get away from authorities, and boom, that innocent driver just got sideswiped by this stolen vehicle pursuit. Now driving on the 170 North without headlights on. Tim Lynn, the police specialist on the line with us, you think that they as in LAPD, decided to back off and only track from above just because it is so dangerous? Although now that I say that, we're seeing the black and white still right on this driver's tail.
That's CHP. They've probably requested CHP since it's on the freeway and going north, more than likely out of their jurisdiction. They'll go ahead and call in CHP to come in and take over to help out on that, because one, the CHP know the freeways very well. They know the hazards on the freeway, and then they have that capability of handing it off as it goes through the different jurisdictions. And LAPD doesn't have to run units out of the city. So CHP has a little different policy than LAPD. They're a little more aggressive on the pursuits. They drive at high speeds all the time. They're trained for very high-speed driving. So they will be, as you see here, very close, very aggressive. And now they're using that helicopter overhead to call the pursuit. The ground unit's going to stay close and see how he can handle this. But once it starts getting a little too reckless, if he causes that driver to go, excessive as he's doing right now at 90 miles an hour, the CHP watch commander will shut them down as well, because they too have the same liability as the local law enforcement should an accident happen during these pursuits. But they have other means of stopping these pursuits along the way, and going on the 170 now transition to the 5 freeway. Going to keep going up, and if they get to certain areas, they have places where they can use spike strips on the freeway, and that pretty much is the only way. That it looks like they're getting off the freeway here at Terabella, and this will put him into the Arleta-Pacoima area. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, so that does slow down the speeds just a little bit. We are lucky, though, that these roads have been fairly wide open. Dangerous move there. So
Yeah.
CHP will stay with this, even though it's on the surface streets, thinking that they might get back on the freeway at any minute. Tim, is that right?
They'll stay with it for a bit, and well, I've had it personally to where they get off the freeway, then they just give it up really quick, and you better be ready to go as soon as they do that. But most of the times they'll stick with it as best they can, and if it gets too deep into the city, then they'll go ahead and have LAPD come back in and take over. So right now the Foothill Division of LAPD is well aware of this pursuit in their jurisdiction, and are probably staging and tracking and keeping an eye on the area just to be available when this person does go to foot. They're able to set up the perimeter or give chase. So just because they're not involved doesn't mean they're not watching. Man, terrible turn through that red light.
Dangerous move after dangerous move here. So now we're on San Fernando Road and Terabella Street in the Pacoima area. Again, we bring you these pursuits this isn't for entertainment purposes. This is for public safety issues, because your loved one could be coming home tonight and has no idea that this reckless driver, this dangerous suspect behind the wheel here, is out there doing everything he can to elude officers. And we are hearing that it is a male driver behind the wheel. We often hear about, the unknowns, Tim, when we call these pursuits. Is this person armed? Law enforcement always assumes that the suspect is armed. Are there more than one? Is there a passenger or multiple passengers inside? We haven't heard that yet. We're working to get more information confirmed. But for people who are watching us and just jumping on the air to watch this latest stolen vehicle pursuit unfold live right here on LA Live News tonight, this is a stolen vehicle pursuit. Male driver started in San Fernando Valley. It's made its way through the Hollywood Hills on the 101 freeway, the 170 north. Now we're on surface streets here in Pacoima. It's important to note, as we're squeezing our way through this intersection, doing anything that they can to get through. It looks like a Chevron or a gas station there to get through. Should they make a U-turn? Nope. This is just clearly, Tim, this person doesn't have a game plan in mind.
No, he's just driving through the area here of the north end of Pacoima, south into Sylmar. And this is a kind of a tight area up in this area. A lot of people on foot all times of the night, and so you have to keep that in mind. And CHP, now, they may not have that information now here turning on Van Nuys. This will take him back towards the 5 freeway, but the area on Van Nuys Boulevard here coming back towards San Fernando Road is a very tight area. CHP looks like they're thinking about doing a pit. Yeah, but they're a little bit too quick. Just looking at the speeds are 54 miles an hour.
Yeah.
A lot will happen at that speed if you do that. So he had a chance to take a look, and more than likely he's teeing it up for when he catches him on a turn. But man, a very sharp turn there around the corner down through the neighborhood here. And right now he's kind of working his way back down towards the Pierce Street. So this is a very, as I said, thin streets, very tight, very dark. So I hope somebody's not out there. But CHP is sticking with it, and I'm surprised LAPD hasn't gotten in on this yet.
Tim, you're right. Those streets are very narrow in that neighborhood, which is very scary because it's so dark out there. You can see that. We did see CHP get a little more aggressive when it comes to trying to bring this to an end with the start. The feel, you could feel the energy of the pit maneuver right there just a short time ago. Right now, though, as we're what happened there? Sparks. My question for you, Tim, as you watch how this driver is driving, the speeds, the aggressiveness, what does it tell you about this driver and how badly they want to get away from law enforcement?
Yeah, he's very, very motivated. I can tell you that. You see, they're right there. LAPD's watching the area. Just came in on there, so they're keeping an eye. But this area right here is a very crowded housing project area. He just drove through. I thought sure he was going to go out on foot because those are extremely difficult to deal with. But yeah, when they get going fast like this, and they're doing all this turning and stuff. All they're trying to do is get distance between them and that unit behind them to be able to get out and get over a couple fences and hopefully get away. But with the helicopter overhead, with their light, their infrared camera, it's going to be very difficult. Now coming back onto Pierce, like I said, this is a big backup all the way to probably San Fernando Road. LAPD sitting there waiting. Now he's going southbound San Fernando. This will take him back down towards the Osborne, Laurel Canyon area. So going to get a lot of speed on this part of the street. This is more of a wide area that they have, but blacked out, and actually no daytime running lights now that we got in front. He's totally blacked out.
Yeah.
So nobody's seeing him come, and that's super dangerous because people will make a simple turn or lane change not knowing he's there.
Oh, gosh,
the driver's
I hate
there.
to see
So.
this. Yeah, and speeds, if you look at the speeds on the surface streets, 75 miles per hour plus at this point. No lights. This is in Pacoima, San Fernando Road. And, you know, it's like, oh, gosh, like watching somebody with a death wish here, just blowing through intersections. This is a stolen vehicle pursuit suspect behind the wheel here, some sort of an SUV. We're still working to confirm some of the details. This did start in the San Fernando Valley. It's the night sun that you're seeing tracking from above. CHP is involved and now LAPD. So even though it is on surface streets, to Christine's point, Tim, it's still CHP as we now zoom in. It looks like some back end damage with something hanging off the right side of the right tail light there, making a right turn here on Branford Street. They work in conjunction, CHP and LAPD?
Yes, the pursuing unit will stay on it.
Wait, we're stopping. We're going to interrupt here. Yeah, they're stopping here. They stopped. One person out bailing. Making a run for it, not very quickly, though, not a fast runner there. You'd think law enforcement that's been right there on that pursuit will catch this person pretty quickly. You have to wonder, though, are they armed, Tim? That's got to be a big concern there as police are chasing this person.
Well, it looks like the CHP had backed off a bit because of that driving. So this is what happens when they do that surveillance mode. It gets into the point to where the pursuing officer isn't close enough to give chase. Now the air unit's going to try to give information to the units around it that we're trailing outside of the area to be able to pin down this guy. They lock down the area, but you know it's very difficult for the officers to get into the area quickly. Here comes the first CHP officer, and now LAPD is going to swoop into the area as well and start setting that perimeter. But he's gotten up into this business area here, so we'll have to see if they're able to figure out. But ran into that.
It looks like somebody, innocent bystander there, is just saying, "Yeah, I saw somebody run this way."
Yeah, it's imagine being at work, you know, waiting there, and all of a sudden somebody comes running by and into the business. Now they got to make sure that they get the back of that business sealed. That's what that TFO or the flight officer is doing in the area to be able to keep that back door covered, because he gets into those cars, he's going to have a lot of cover and concealment to get through there. So now they have to lock down this area and try to pin this guy into these strip mall or this strip business area. So it's going to be hard work for LAPD and CHP to narrow this thing down. And so, and as you said, worrying about this person being armed. Now, you have to keep that in mind. Now, CHP will more likely back out at this point, let LAPD come in, because they're more trained and more able to search buildings and also have the availability of having canines and things of that sort. But now you see the area turn its light back on, kind of keeping an eye on the back. He's also, the observer on that helicopter, the tactical flight officer, is using an infrared camera to keep an eye out to see if anybody pops up. It's much easier to see them with that infrared than it is with the light, and they're flying very low with the LAPD helicopter here, keeping an eye out. So they're gonna tighten this perimeter up, try to seal this area off to where the person can't get out, and then hopefully start doing a search for that suspect in this area. But you know, it could take hours to find him with all those cars, so they're gonna have to call in more than likely a canine units.
So you're saying with the infrared, they have better eyes and ears than we do right now with their view. I'm noting the body language of the officers, and you saw at least one person who was in that building, probably a worker or two, and they ran out of there. They are behind the officers where it's safe for them. But the body language here tells me, Tim, that they're not too concerned immediately about what's in front of them right there. Perhaps they have some intel as to where this person ran or how far they could go. Maybe they did go towards the back door. Maybe they are holed up in another room. But what does the body language tell you?
Well, they're being cautious. They're keeping cover. It's where they're not going in and trying to get as many people out of there by yelling in. And you see another person coming out, but they're not going in as a team, and they're kind of keeping back. They're not, doing the SWAT activity where they're in a line trying to move forward. Now they're going to back away. So, yeah, they're not ready to go in there. They're going to have to get a game plan together to make sure they have a tight perimeter on the outside before they try to go search the inside. Because if he squirts out the back door or out a roof vent and runs across the roof, it's going to be a lot of surprised officers on the ground. Because I've had them do that to me in the unit where they'll go in and I'm watching on the infrared, and all of a sudden I'll see a roof hatch pop open and you see this guy sprinting across the roof, trying to explain that to the guys on the ground. Hey, he's out, he's on the roof running that direction. So that's what the TFOs or the flight officers waiting for. And so right now they're going to have to back off, slow down, get together a game plan, put the right officers together, and then do a methodical search. But first things first, they have to lock down the area and contain the suspect.
Well, speaking of the area, I just did a quick search. So according to our extreme navigation system here, it's Branford Street and San Fernando Road in Pacoima. And if you do a Google Maps on that it looks like this may be a window tinting location that closes at 8:30. So that makes sense as to why it would be open at this time of night, and the suspect would be able to just run in. So this could be, again, this isn't confirmed, but just doing the Google search here, this could be a window tinting business that was set to close in just a few minutes at 8:30. It's 8:29 right now, in fact. So it looks like it to me, given the daylight photo and what we're seeing here live from Fox 11. Let's show you that moment, though, while we're sort of in the standby mode when the suspect decided to pull over abruptly, and there's that suspect making a run for it. Branford Street, San Fernando Road, makes a right turn here once he sees this parking lot, the entryway, turns in there, and then seemingly may have run into this window tinting business right here in this industrial area in Pacoima. So now we got all the officers there. It could be only a matter of time if you're thinking that this business is open, which if this is the right business, there would be the employees inside. Everybody would have to, evacuate, get out of there. And what a scary situation. We've talked about it, but it's worth repeating that this suspect could be armed. You don't know that. You always assume that they are. And, how are you going to get them out? And how are you going to protect the lives of the innocent workers there?
Exactly. Time is on the officer's side, so they don't want to go too fast and get anybody hurt. But it looks like they're zooming in for something there. But the officers are going to stay back. Now you see the group of LAPD officers there grouped up out, more than likely game planning what they're going to do, and then you try to get all the innocents out as best you can. Yell into the business, hey, get out, get out, get out. And you watch for people coming out. Are they in uniform? Do they look like they belong there? Are they sweating from running? That type. You're watching everybody coming out. Everybody is going to be detained coming out of the business to make sure that the suspect isn't going to come out pretending to be an employee. And hopefully the employees will, basically point him out or point that person out. But this is just the opportunity. That's the first open door that person saw, and in they go, and then they try to think of something else once they get inside to get out. So you never know what you're going to come up with. You have to stay very flexible as the officer on the scene. And right now they're just trying to put together a game plan to figure out where they have to search, what they have to search, and there's the LAPD behind. Got that area to set up. And like I said, the tactical flight officer is placing units where he needs them because he has the overhead view. Yeah, putting units in critical locations to block any avenues that escape in case he does what they say squirt out of the location, which is they pop out a back door, pop out a roof hatch, or just come running straight out. I mean, I've seen that before where they just get panicked and they just start running. So you have to be ready for anything. And at this point, just looking at the demeanor of the LAPD here, they've all huddled up together. The CHP have kind of backed off to their units, and more than likely they're putting together a game plan using information from CHP and from the area unit to figure out exactly how they're going to handle this. And if they believe this person is armed, this will more than likely go to a tactical call out for the SWAT team to come out, who has better equipment, better protection, and are they train for that daily on how to get people out. So
they can block that area too. Yeah, they can block that front entrance. Tim, this could be a very long night. We could sit here and chat all night, but we have a lot of other news we want to cover. So we're going to keep a watch on this. We may come back to you. Keep the telephone handy. But right now, since not a lot is happening, we do want to bring our viewers some other news. And hopefully they will catch this guy, and hopefully all the employees are out and safe.
All righty.